You can be in electronics many years and you'll miss certain things. And I told you I had that guy I worked with, Joe Pander, Mr. Know-It-All, know nothing, didn't know shit from Shinola. And you'd mentioned to him something like, yeah, I set up an oscillator with a coil, and when I put a piece of ferrite material in there, there's a ferrite rod. I'll put it in here, and you would expect the frequency to go down. All right, here's the frequency. It's 2.48 approximately megahertz. Put this in, and it'll go down in frequency. All right, obviously. All right, that's we all know. That's our standard coil. So I just happened to be reading, and someone said, yeah, you can build a PTO with a piece of brass, but when the brass goes in the coil, it'll go up in frequency. And I kept that in my mind, and last night I'm laying in bed going, how does it go up in frequency? It has a certain amount of turns. It's got a certain amount of capacitance between the turns. That makes the frequency into the Franklin. But I have a solid piece of brass. This is solid. It's not tubing. There's no trick. I am now going to put this into the coil. I have to go through the camera legs here. And we'll put this in. And as we put it in, notice it went up in frequency. All right, so you say, no trick. I'm not kidding around. The person said it'd go up in frequency. So I have no knowledge or information in my head to explain how a coil can suddenly have less inductance because I put a piece of brass into it. Now, I'll go reading about it and I'll understand, but at the same time, I said, having built metal detectors, here's a piece of threaded rod. Now, you'd expect steel, if it goes inside, I think this sticks to a magnet. Let me make sure it's the steel. Yeah. All right. Now, if you put this inside the coil, it's going to go down in frequency, but it doesn't. Look, here we go again. It went up in frequency, just like the brass. So, like I'm telling you, there are things that you believe to be a certain way, and you never have a problem because you never build in that section or that area, or you never try using a piece of brass to make a coil. You've always used ferrite rod. So, you know, I tell you, I have ferrite rod like this. I also have floating around here somewhere, hiding on me right now, is a piece of ferrite material with the threaded thing on the back. The plunger from the crystal rail. Here it is. It's over in the shadow. I have these things. And these go in a loop stick. I have the little mechanism that holds it. When you put that in, it also goes way down in frequency. You can make the frequency counter actually stop. Okay, no, I take that back. But in other words, you see it go down in frequency. Just like you'd expect it. Ferrite material, down in frequency. Piece of brass, up in frequency. Another piece of ferrite material, down in frequency. And that's something that I won't say I would have argued with somebody, but I was like, you got to be kidding me. And especially if they couldn't say why the piece of brass makes it go up in frequency. You know, don't hit me with the ferrous and non-ferrous. That means nothing. And that's what the one guy, well, one's ferrous and one, that has nothing to do with it. How? Thank you. Another big truck coming up the street by accident. How can it do it? And I don't know. Then I'll have to go in between doing what I'm doing. And what I'm doing right now is I'm scrapping out circuit boards and taking the little flea pins off and some of the more expensive parts. I know I'm not going to live forever, and I have a lot of things that are in boxes, and when I die, they're going to get thrown out. And lately, when I've been building things, I've been reusing parts. So it is possible the parts that I salvage, and when I build the next project, I'll at least maybe use some of them instead of it sitting in a box in a project that's never going to be touched again. And then when I die, it'll all be thrown out. That's what I'm up to now. But I'm laying in bed last night going to myself, all right, how could you make a quick test bed to see if brass makes it go up in frequency. And then, of course, I have to add into my, well, I'll put a piece of threaded rod into the coil. Surely that'll bring, no, brings it up in frequency. So I have to do more reading, but I hope you find it interesting, and don't pull a Joe Padner. I knew that. How come you didn't know that? I thought you knew everything. And that's the type of people I had around me. And then if you ask Joe Padner, well, how come the brass makes it go up in frequency? You don't know? I know. I have to go now. And he would take off, and he'd try to find the answer so he'd come back the next day and stick it to you a little bit more. But I just want to show you, because if I find something interesting, I know somebody else out there will find it interesting. It's like the velvet veneer. It's not really a veneer. It doesn't have two reference points. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I took a velvet veneer apart, and that's what the company calls it. And I showed people how to re-oil and get it back together. And it's got some fairly good views, and people watch the video all the way through. I know now, if I find something interesting, somebody else might find it interesting, just like that helicopter with setting its rims. I think that's it. All right, that's it.